Chapter 1861, Too Cowardly. The truth was that before Father Wei mentioned this, he had similarly felt that after having Jia as a granddaughter, everything would go well for their Wei family. However, today, the Zai family had kept both Zihua and Jia for reunion dinner to celebrate the new year but chased Wei away. This made Father Wei realize that the Zai family didn't change their attitude toward Wei because of Jia's existence. The Zai family still looked down on his son, their son-in-law. After feeling scared, Father Wei couldn't help but talk to Wei Dai. Dad's a useless man. I can't manage your mom. You spend less time at home, so you have to be careful. If you can't manage someone like your mom, you have to know what to do in the future if anything happens. Her son was the most important to her. Anyone else in front of his wife would just be deemed as people without any status. An ordinary person had to be scared of her and respect her because she had Zihua as a daughter-in-law. Zihua was from the Zai family. This meant that she was in-laws with the old chief. Zihua had to be afraid of her and treat her well. She shouldn't fight back or scold her as she was Zihua's mother-in-law. In short, in Father Wei's eyes, Mother Wei's lethality was no less than Wei does. What was different was that their lethality was not targeted at others but themselves. Wei didn't say anything else. He only looked at Mother Wei and said, "Mom." Yes, Zihua was bad-tempered and couldn't tolerate grievances. The Zai family had treated her so well, but she still complained that she didn't lead a good life there. His mom treated Zihua badly, yet she could tolerate it until now. The question was how much longer Zihua could tolerate it. Wei wasn't sure what decisions Zihua would make. Since he didn't have the capital and backbone to leave Zihua and live alone, some things should be paid attention to. Okay. I get it. I totally get it. In the future, I'll treat Zihua and Jia as if they are our Wei family's ancestors. Will that do? Even if she wasn't happy or didn't like it, there wasn't anything she couldn't do for the sake of her son. Hadn't she already done it once when she first saw Zihua, this old woman? Mom, it has been tough on you because of me. Wei felt heartache for his mom for having to compromise as a mother-in-law. If he didn't have the chance to be together with Zihua and Xiaomei was his only wife, his mom could completely treat her daughter-in-law based on her own will and temper. A mother-in-law was a mother-in-law. She should put on some air in front of the daughter-in-law. Mother Wei was still feeling a little unhappy before. When she heard her son's words, her unhappiness disappeared. It's not tough at all. For you and Wei, I'm a willing party. Everything is worth it. As long as both of you are well, I won't say a word even if I have to get down and let Zihua and Jia use me as a horse, let alone treat them as ancestors. Not only did she want her son to be well, but she also wanted her only grandson to be well. Zihua had not outlived her usefulness yet. If they couldn't make her bring out all her usefulness for her son and grandson to have a bright future, then their Wei family would really suffer a huge loss. He had already married Zihua, this old woman, but hadn't taken any advantage yet. Wasn't this akin to trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice? As the Wei family talked about this, Wei Xiaomei knew that in the days to come, she was going to lead a life without a husband again. Even that little bit of sneaky passion would be lost. Wei Xiaomei felt regretful not because she missed Wei Dai. Wei Xiaomei knew that if she slept with Wei Dai, his heart would be biased toward her and her son. Most importantly, on what basis could Zihua snatch her man but she couldn't snatch hers? Wei Xiaomei felt a distorted sense of satisfaction when she lived in the house bought by Zihua and slept with Wei behind Zihua's back. It was just that from today onward, she would no longer be able to enjoy such satisfaction anymore. Qiaonan didn't know that after Wei returned home and got lectured by Father Wei, he became so arrogant that he forgot who the Wei family had relied on to lead such a good life today. The Wei family had relied on the Zai family. If the Wei family dared to treat Zihua and Jia badly, then they were really complaining that they were leading too good a life. Qiaonan didn't know about these troubling matters. However, after leaving the Chiao family and returning to her in-laws' place in her dreams, Chiao Nan felt that she had celebrated the new year happily and comfortably. Of course, it wasn't only Chiao Nan who was happy. Zihua realized that her daughter was smiling much more and her laughter was louder than when she was in the Wei family. In the past when they were at the Wei family's house, even if her daughter laughed, it was a plain one without any sound. Back then, she thought that her daughter's temper was unlike hers, and she was more ladylike. However, after returning to her parents' house to celebrate the new year, Zihua realized that she was wrong. Actually, her daughter was pretty similar to her, especially when she laughed. It was a loud and hearty laugh. "Mom, I've already received Aunt Chiao's red packet. When is Uncle going to allow me to call her Aunt instead? I must say that Uncle is too slow in his actions. They are already celebrating the new year together, so why is he dawdling? I'm going to look down on him soon." Jia became a lot livelier and more cheerful recently, and she dared to talk to Zihua about Chiao Nan and Zai Sheng. Jia held her cheeks. "Every time I see Uncle standing next to Aunt Chiao, I nearly can't stand it. We have people in school falling in love as well. Even though Uncle and Aunt Chiao aren't like my classmates, addressing each other by husband and wife, that type of sweetness when they were together is much more exaggerated than my classmates. However, it has been a week. I've observed that Uncle hasn't even held Aunt Chiao's hand, let alone progress to the stage where I could address her as Aunt. How weak!" Zihua laughed at her daughter's laugh. "Don't say this in front of your uncle. He wants face, especially when he's in front of the woman he likes. Didn't you see that your uncle used to look like a block of ice, expressionless and emotionless? After Chiao Nan's arrival, your uncle changed quite a bit. At least, he seemed more human now." She thought that all the men from the Zai family were like that, just like old Master Zai and her father. As such, she didn't feel surprised at how Zai Sheng was when she was young. Chapter 1862, No Evidence. But afterward, the relationship between her parents warmed up. And it was then that Zihua realized that there was another side to her parents. Today, Zai Sheng seemed to have met the right person, Chiao Nan, and his change had been just like her father's at that time. Did that mean that the old master had been this way because her grandma had left too early? Thinking about how the old master had been infuriated about how she had insisted on marrying Weida even when he passed on, Zihua felt incredibly upset. "Jia, I'll bring you along to visit your great-grandpa tomorrow." She had not been filial to the old master while he was still alive and had even angered him greatly. She wondered whether the old master would forgive her since she was even bringing her daughter to visit him now. "All right, Mom. Let's go visit great-grandpa and great-grandma. When you miss them, I can always follow you here to pay them a visit. Pingcheng isn't that far from Qingshui town, and the environment here is good too. We can spend our holidays here in the future." As compared to Pingcheng, she felt that Qingshui town felt much more comfortable. Seeing that her daughter truly liked it here, Zihua nodded in agreement. "Sister Chiao, what's up with you lately? I feel like you've been worried about something." Xiao Zhao tried to ask Chiao Nan. In reality, when the two of them had been preparing dinner, Chiao Nan had gone into a trance and had remained silent for a long while. Xiao Zhao had already encountered such a situation several times. "Sister Chiao, are you too tired? If that's the case, I could have prepared dinner myself. I think there should be no problem for me to whip up a meal on my own every once in a while. Besides, you've been by my side recently. I'm sure I've picked up some skills from you. Do you want to go back to your room and get some rest?" She did not dare to tire Sister Chiao out because that would be her fault if she were to do so. "No, I just have some things on my mind. It's inevitable that I'm lost in thought sometimes." Chiao Nan denied it. The new year was already over, and she had thought that she would be able to whip up a few meals for the Zai family as a way of reminiscing the times in her dream for the last time. Besides, Wei Dai and Wei Wei's matter had been weighing down on Xiao Nan's mind. She had been hesitating about where to start and break through. There was one more thing. This was a rather complicated and awkward matter. Who should she talk to about it first? Do you really not need some rest? Sister Qiao, don't hold on if you can't. I can manage on my own. How about this, Xiao Zhao? Since you said that you've learned a few things from me, I'll let you handle today's meal. I have something to take care of, and I need to go find Sister Zihua. After giving it some thought, Qiao Nan gritted her teeth and decided to start from Zihua. She was a woman too. As a woman, she did not wish for Zihua to become the last person to find out about Wei Dai's matter. All right, hurry on and get some rest. Xiao Zhao only wished for Qiao Nan to get some rest instead of always staying in the kitchen to tire herself out. As for whether Qiao Nan truly got some rest or went to handle her own affairs after leaving the kitchen, Xiao Zhao could not possibly question Qiao Nan about it. After handing over her duties in the kitchen, Qiao Nan took off her apron and went out to find Zihua. Qiao Nan was relieved to see Zihua alone in the room without Jiajia. If Jiajia was there, she would have to find an excuse to chase Jiajia out of the room. On the very night Wei Dai had left, Zihua had simply moved into her daughter's room. Zihua thought that this would be an opportunity for her to get closer to her daughter and to understand her daughter's real inner thoughts and feelings. Sister Zihua, where's Jiajia? Qiao Nan, you're here. Come and have a seat. That cheeky monkey, Jiajia, has turned wild after meeting Zai Sheng. I wonder if I gave birth to a fake daughter. She must have gone to find her uncle again. It was only now that she found out that Jiajia took an interest in military boxing. When they had been in the Wei family in the past, Mother Wei had never allowed such a thing. She thought that it was too ugly and unladylike for Jiajia to participate in such an activity. Now that they were in the Zai family's house and no longer under the influence of Mother Wei, Jiajia was finally able to show off her true nature. Zihua did not think too much about it. She had been able to participate in whatever activities she enjoyed when she was younger, so why couldn't her daughter do so? Besides, it was better for girls to learn some martial arts skills. That way, she would not be so easily bullied when she was outside. In case Jiajia ever got into a fight with her husband in the future, she would not need to be worried about Jiajia being beaten up by her husband. In fact, Jiajia would even be able to beat some sense into her husband. Zihua had felt this strongly when she had managed to subdue Wei Dai when he had wanted to pull Jiajia away. At that time, she knew that she would have to let her daughter learn some martial arts skills. Otherwise, she would be easily taken advantage of. There were too few men who would keep to their word of not touching a single strand of her daughter's hair. Wei Dai had made countless promises to her before marriage, but in the end, the couple had always used their physical force to talk to each other and solve their problems. Upon hearing that Jiajia had gone to find Zai Sheng to learn some martial arts skills and would not be back for a long time, Qiao Nan was a little more relaxed. Sister Zihua, you might think I'm being a busybody, but I think I have to talk to you about some things. I think it's best that I talk to you about this matter first. You might not be able to keep your cool and calm, but I think it won't be fair to you if I talk to you about this matter only after I've told everyone else. Zihua's smiling face changed. What's the matter? Is it that serious? She had never seen Qiao Nan in the quad in the past, and this was her first time interacting with Qiao Nan. If Zihua were to describe herself as someone as hard as a rock, then Qiao Nan was truly as gentle as water. But now that Qiao Nan was being so serious and solemn, there was no way Zihua could not be serious either. The more serious Qiao Nan acted, the more Zihua believed that what Qiao Nan was about to tell her was the truth. Tell me about it. Does it have anything to do with me? I've seen you in a trance these few days. Is it because of this matter? If that's the case, you should have come to look for me earlier. Qiao Nan laughed bitterly. She had wanted to look for Sister Zihua earlier too so that Sister Zihua would not continue to be cheated by that bast *RD. But how was she supposed to talk about it? Firstly, she had no evidence on hand. Secondly, she herself had been rather doubtful about her dream. She could not possibly rush over to Sister Zihua, telling her that she had dreamed about the relationship between Wei Wei and Wei Dai. That meant that Sister Zihua had been blind and had married the wrong person 10 years ago. If she were to say that, even if Sister Zihua did not punch her because it was the new year, she might very well be sent to the mental hospital. Sister Zihua, this is just my suspicion. I'm not sure if I'm being too sensitive, but it's been very uncomfortable trying to hold it all in. I think that you can discuss this with Brother Zai and decide on how to handle this matter. Chapter 1863, Two Alike. The more hesitant Xiaonan was in spilling the beans, the more anxious Zihua got. What's the matter? I'm getting goosebumps from seeing you in such a dilemma. Is the sky going to fall? Xiaonan had to resist the urge to reply to Zihua, saying that it was pretty much the same. If what she was about to say was true, wouldn't the sky be falling in Zihua's world? I heard Jiajia say that her dad treats his nephew, Wei Wei, very well. Jiajia has always felt that her dad always treats that child better than her, his biological daughter. Sister Zihua, is that only Jiajia's illusion? Zihua's expression turned cold. How should she put it? She did not really want to discuss the Wei family's matters with Xiaonan. That was a domestic disgrace that Zihua herself did not want to face. Xiaonan had not yet married into the Zai family. As such, Zihua thought that it was rather embarrassing for her to talk to Xiaonan about how she had gotten into an argument with the Zai family over her marriage to Wei Dai at that time and about how the Wei family was treating her daughter poorly. However, very quickly, Zihua's expression changed and her stiff shoulders drooped. I've never been willing to talk about this topic. If I mention it, I'll lose all dignity in front of my family. But if I don't, I'd feel bad for Jiajia. He always says that Wei Wei's a fatherless child and that Wei Wei has suffered a lot and has been ridiculed because of that. If even he doesn't treat Wei Wei well as his only uncle, there'll be no one else who will treat Wei Wei well. But Jiajia only has one father too. If Wei Dai had not neglected Jiajia because of his care toward Wei Wei, she would never have mentioned a thing about this. But now, Wei Dai placed more emphasis on Wei Wei than Jiajia. That was crossing the line. My mother-in-law favors males over females, and because Wei Wei has the Wei family's name, and is a boy, my mother-in-law is biased toward him, even though we don't know who his father really is. I feel really bad for Jiajia because of this. Xiaonan, if you look for a husband in the future, you must take note of this. Our family is pretty good in this aspect, and such a thing would never happen. Most importantly, my mom likes granddaughters more than grandsons. Just look at how well my mom is toward Jiajia. Probably, Zihua had finally had some self-awareness of her identity as an elder sister, feeling that Zai Sheng had finally met the right person at his age. As his elder sister, she had to help Zai Sheng boost his image and that of the family in front of Xiaonan. Xiaonan was slightly stunned, thinking that Zihua had veered off the main topic. As such, Xiaonan had to guide Zihua back to their initial conversation. Sister Zihua, I actually think that favoring males over females is not that much of a problem when compared to the problem I found. I've found something wrong with the family portrait in Jiajia's phone. I'll say again that I'm not entirely sure of it. Perhaps I'm just too sensitive or have been watching too much television. What's the problem? Was the problem so serious that favoring males over females was no longer a problem? Take a look at this. Xiaonan took a picture out of her pocket. Looking at the photo in Xiaonan's hands, Zihua raised her eyebrow in surprise. You developed it? Yes, Jiajia sent the photo to me, and I asked Xiao Su to help me develop it. Sister Zihua, please don't mind me interfering in this matter. Of course not. It was just a photo. Once Xiaonan married into the family, they would have to have another photo taken with Xiaonan inside. What's wrong with this photo? Xiaonan took a deep breath as she pointed to Wei Wei, who was standing beside Weida in the photo. Sister Zihua, don't you think that Wei Wei resembles Weida? Not just a little. There was at least a 30 to 40% of similarity between the two. In her dream, she had pointed this suspicion out while Wei Wei was still young and had not fully developed. At that time, Wei Wei had only resembled Weida slightly. Now that Wei Wei was all grown up and a teenager, his facial features and smile did indeed resemble Weida. They looked exactly like a father and son pair. Isn't it normal for them to look similar? They're an uncle and nephew, after all. Zihua did not take Xiaonan's words to heart. Xiaonan said agitatedly, but Jia said that her aunt was adopted by the Wei family and was not the Wei family's biological daughter. It's only right for nephews to resemble their uncles if their parents are siblings, right? Wei Xiaomei was not even the Wei family's child, so was it not strange that her child, Wei Wei, resembled his uncle? At that time, Weida had put in a tremendous amount of effort in chasing Zihua, whereas Wei Xiaomei had her reasons to get closer to Weida. Zihua resented her parents for favoring males over females. She hated that her parents treated Zisheng better than they treated her. But Weida had proved to her that this did not happen in the Wei family with Wei Xiaomei's existence. The Wei family already had a son, Weida, but had pitted Wei Xiaomei, who had been abandoned by her family. As such, they had taken Wei Xiaomei in and raised her as their own. Later on, when Wei Xiaomei grew up and got cheated on by a man, she had given birth to a child out of wedlock. Even then, the Wei family had not abandoned Wei Xiaomei, and they had even helped her raise her child. Any other family would have simply found a random family for Wei Xiaomei to marry into, given her situation. But their family had not done so because they knew that there would be no one who could match up to their standards and would be willing to marry a single mother. Instead of letting Wei Xiaomei marry someone, it would be like throwing her into a pit. They had raised Wei Xiaomei, after all, and were thus unwilling to see Wei Xiaomei suffer. They would much rather Wei Xiaomei stay single for the rest of her life since she already had a son, Wei Wei, after all. Even if she remained unmarried for the rest of her life, she would still have a son to provide for her in her old age. Initially, Zihua had felt rather uneasy when she had first heard about this. She felt that Wei Xiaomei's situation would never have occurred in a typical family. But Weida had managed to convince Zihua otherwise. From his words, the Wei family was portrayed in an extremely positive light, where there was no way that they favored males over females. After all, they had treated an adopted daughter so well. Was this not the kind of family Zihua had been looking for? In the past, no one had ever brought up the issue of Wei Wei resembling Weida to Zihua. Even though Zihua knew that Wei Xiaomei had been adopted, the Wei family truly treated Wei Xiaomei and her son extremely well. It was to the extent that Zihua often forgot about the truth of the situation. But now that Xiaonan mentioned it, Zihua had taken it for granted and had even brushed Xiaonan off with an excuse that sounded rather reasonable. This, at the mention of Wei Xiaomei being adopted, Zihua was stunned. That's probably because Wei Wei grew up around Weida. That's why he looks a little like Weida. Didn't they say that children would always take after the people who raised them? Chapter 1864, Don't Scare Me. Xiaonan bit on her lip. Sister Zihua, don't you think that logic seems a little flawed? It might be true that spending time with someone can cause one's actions and expressions to resemble those of the other person, thus giving people a sense of resemblance. But I'm not talking about such things between Wei Wei and Weida. I'm talking about their appearances. Under normal circumstances, resemblances in appearances are due to genetics. Unless Wei Wei's unknown father is not only related to Weida but also a very close relative. Perhaps it's his brother or uncle. That's impossible. Zihua denied. The Wei family does have relatives, but I've met most of them. None of them fit your description. Besides, you've said that these people are of a different generation from Wei Xiaomei, so how could they have gotten into a relationship with Wei Xiaomei, much less had a son like Wei Wei? If it's really someone within the family, there's no way they would have allowed Wei Xiaomei to remain in the family with Wei Wei. Qiao Nan, I think you're overthinking it. Qiao Nan had to resist the urge to roll her eyes. She was certain that she was not overthinking this. Sister Zihua, you're not catching the main point. Since Wei Wei's father can't possibly be Weida's uncles, think about what other reason there might be for Wei Wei to resemble Weida. Have you never had any suspicions even though you guys meet each other so often? Times must have been hard in the past. Which family would have been so kind as to adopt a young lady and even continue supporting that young lady and her son even after that young lady did something to disgrace the family? Is the Wei family a bunch of saint people? I wouldn't say so from what I've seen. She had nothing to do with Zai Sheng and was simply receiving some help from Zai Sheng for the time being. But Weida seemed to be afraid that she would not know her place and would even cling on to Zai Sheng. As such, he had taken on the responsibility of chasing her away on the Zai family's behalf. Could such a person really be a saint? The Wei family was full of saints? That was such a hilarious joke. Zihua was suddenly flustered. Qiao Nan, what are you actually trying to say? She felt that there was something between the lines of Qiao Nan's words. Sister Zihua, do you really not understand what I mean? If Sister Zihua truly did not know what she was thinking, she had said all that for nothing. Based on this alone, she had decided to talk to Sister Zihua first. She did not wish for Sister Zihua to be the last one to find out about Wei Wei's relationship with Wei Dai. Similarly, since this was Sister Zihua's marriage, if Sister Zihua did not want to take issue with this matter and wanted only to protect her family, she was not in the position to ruin this family. If she told the Zai family about Wei Wei's relationship with Weida before telling Zihua, there would only be one possible outcome. Sister Zihua's family would definitely be destroyed. The Zai family had already allowed Zihua to be willful once, but they were definitely not going to allow for it to happen a second time. If it happened a second time, Zihua would not only lose her marriage but also her true family. Sister Zihua, you should understand my purpose of coming to talk to you. You can think about it, and I'll respect your decision once you've made one. I'll do whatever you tell me to. Anyway, I'm only staying here for the time being. In a few days' time, I'll move back to my house once my door has been fixed. In the future, I probably won't have any more opportunities to meet your family. Not meeting the Zai family meant that she would never have the chance to tell the rest of the Zai family about the relationship between Wei Wei and Wei Dai. Zihua could rest assured about that. Zihua felt as though there was a small hammer pounding beside her ear, making her all dizzy. Hold on a moment. Don't be in a hurry. Let me think through it. Zihua shook her head as she said it. My brain is in a little bit of a mess at the moment. Qiao Nan, can you be a little more straightforward about what you're trying to say about Wei Wei resembling Wei Dai? Since Zihua kept saying that she did not understand what Qiao Nan meant, Qiao Nan would have to be straightforward and direct about it. Qiao Nan would have to stop beating around the bush and tell Zihua exactly what she meant. Only then would she be able to leave the Zai family's house with peace of mind. What I mean is that I suspect that Wei Wei is not a fatherless child. In fact, his father has always been taking care of him. Although I've only seen Weida once, I don't think he's the kind of selfless person who'll willingly sacrifice his life for someone else without expecting anything in return. I don't think he's the kind of person to treat someone else's child better than his own child. Only if both children are his will it make sense for the Wei family to favor Wei Wei, a boy, over Jiajia, just like what Jiajia said. That's impossible. Zihua had not even gotten the chance to deny it before Jiajia, who had just returned from her training to change out of her sweaty clothes, pushed open the door and shouted. Auntie Qiao, I think you're overthinking it. That's impossible. Wei Xiaomei is my aunt. Even though she isn't the Wei family's biological child, she grew up in my grandma's family. She's a sibling to my father. How could they possibly have gotten together behind my mom's back and had Wei Wei? That's ridiculous. Thank you for your concern, Auntie Chiao. But I think you're thinking too much. Wei Jiajia preferred Wei to treating Wei Wei well out of pity than accepting the fact that Wei Wei was actually her father's biological son. Besides, all these were just suspicions. They had to be false. Yes, that was exactly what it was. It was false. It was not the truth. Jiajia's appearance caught Jiao Nan off guard. But because the most important person concerned was present, Jiao Nan calmed down. Jiajia, have you ever heard of child brides? I'm sure the Wei family's conditions in the countryside weren't very good, right? In a time when they could hardly even afford to feed themselves, do you know how hard it must have been to feed another person? Finding a bride was not easy at that time. Besides, your dad was a soldier. It was understandable for the Wei family to do that since they had not expected your mom to appear. Wei Jiajia forced a smile out. Mom, please explain it on Dad's behalf. Dad might not have a good temper, but he's responsible toward our family. My dad would never do such a thing to us, right? He's a good person, right, Mom? Auntie Chiao, you've scared me. This is just your wild guess, but you've made it sound so real. Look how you've scared my mom. Chiao Nan had already spilled too much to back down. Jiajia, you told me that your mom was the one who bought the house that your grandma is living in now. It has 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, right? It was a huge house. Yes, but what does the house have to do with this? Chapter 1865, I should return. Since there are 3 bedrooms, your grandparents live in one of them. The other larger one is for Wei Wei and is combined together with the study room. The last one is for your aunt, right? Chiao Nan put her fingers up for Wei Jiajia to count. Wei Jiajia nodded. That's right. My aunt's room isn't very big. It's smaller than the typical study rooms. And you told me that your dad occasionally spends the night at your grandma's house, right? Your dad is a soldier and doesn't even have much time to spend time with you and your mom. Do you think it's normal for him to stay at your grandma's house instead of spending time with his wife and child? Moreover, since the 3 rooms already have their owners, have you ever thought about where your dad sleeps when he sleeps over at your grandma's house? My dad, Wei Jiajia was speechless. She had no idea where her dad slept when he spent the night at her grandma's house. Maybe he sleeps in the living room. Her dad would never sleep in her grandparents' room. Her dad had never talked about it, but she knew that her dad thought that there was a smell in their room because her grandparents were advanced in age. Wei Wei had grown up being spoiled and pampered. He had been upset about sharing a room with someone else in his school's dormitory, so there was no way he would share his bed space with someone else, even if this someone else was the uncle who had raised and treated him well. With her aunt? No, that was impossible. Since you guys don't know where he sleeps in the Wei family's house, there's no way I would know. I'm just a bystander looking at this matter in a very rational manner. That's what I think. They're not biological siblings. Even biological siblings aren't that close once they grow up. Besides, Wei Xiaomei is already a mother with a child, even though she's never gotten married in her life. Do you think it's appropriate for a grown man like your dad to sleep in the living room when he has a younger sister who's so old and unmarried? Is it appropriate for him to be staying over at the Wei family's house? China was still a conservative and traditional country. Such a situation had to be avoided at all costs. Otherwise, it would only attract gossip. It's already quite humiliating that Wei Xiaomei had Wei Wei out of wedlock. Even if your dad doesn't mind that Wei Xiaomei has almost no reputation left, do you think he would not care about his own reputation? Others might not consider this, but Wei would surely be the first person to consider such a situation. There are many things that are taken for granted because people get used to them. Actually, that's a very scary habit to have. You seem to have forgotten about why the neighbors never seem to have anything to say about Wei Wei staying with the Wei family. That's because they have no idea that Wei Xiaomei is an adopted daughter of the Wei family. Even after coming to Pingcheng, everyone else apart from the Zai family thought that Wei Xiaomei had given birth to Wei Wei after getting married and had then gotten divorced. It was just that the man she had gotten married to was not a good person and had not wanted anything to do with his son after getting divorced. Because she was too upset, Wei Xiaomei had never talked about that man. Even Wei Wei himself had no idea what his father's name was. This was why he had been mocked and ridiculed in school. Since the neighbors did not know that Wei Xiaomei had been adopted, no one would find it strange if Wei De were to occasionally spend the night at the Wei family's house. That was why no one had suspected or misunderstood anything. It was exactly because of such an environment that everyone had taken it for granted and overlooked the illogical and unreasonable parts. As long as their neighbors found out that the Wei family had adopted Wei Xiaomei, those people would probably start rumors about the Wei family when they thought back about the Wei family's situation. Say something, Mom. I don't believe Auntie Qiao. It was true that her dad did not treat her as well as he treated Wei Wei, but she did not believe that her dad and his family were people like that. They could not have been lying to her mom, to her, and to her maternal grandma's family all this time. Zihua was confused and couldn't think critically. At this time, Zihua had not returned from her trance and was unable to say anything. Qiao Nan sighed. There's no need for us to keep guessing. It's very simple for us to find out the truth. When you go back, take anything with Wei Wei's and Wei De's DNA. It can be a strand of hair. Sister Zihua, given your capabilities, I'm sure that you'll be able to find someone to do a DNA test. Let's not start baseless accusations and make wild assumptions. Let's put our trust in science. What do you guys think about that? Zihua remained silent. She was like a fly without its head. Wei Jiajia gritted her teeth. Fine. Testing their DNA would be better than letting their imaginations run wild and scaring themselves. They needed an answer to this anyway. If Auntie Qiao had gotten it wrong, she would never be envious about her dad treating Wei Wei well in the future and would even apologize to her dad for her suspicions. On the contrary, if it turned out to be true. Wei Jiajia looked at Zihua worriedly. Apart from herself, the one who would be dealt the hardest blow was her mom. Jiajia, are you sure? Zihua had only reluctantly agreed because her daughter had agreed to it. She was unable to accept it, and she could tell that Jiajia would be even more unable to handle such truth. She preferred Wei to treating Wei Xiaomei and Wei Wei well out of the goodness of his heart instead. But if it turned out that Wei Wei was indeed Wei De's biological child, she would become a huge joke. All right, since Jiajia thinks we should do it, let's do it. Zihua clenched her fist. It's already the 5th day of the new year tomorrow. I should bring Jiajia back home. No matter what, thank you for your concern, Qiao Nan. At least, Qiao Nan had brought this problem up so that she would no longer have to worry about this problem in the future if they investigated it now. After coming to a decision, the mother and daughter pair left the Zai family's old villa for Pingcheng the next day. Of course, it was not just Zihua and her daughter who left this time. Since it was already the 5th day of the new year, Qiao Nan thought that her door would be fixed by now since it had been half a month since that incident. If it was not, she would buy a lock and learn how to fix it herself. Qiao Nan felt uneasy staying in the Zai family's old villa for the long term. Qiao Nan, there's no hurry for you to leave. Our house is so big and we have so many rooms. You can continue staying here. Now that Hua Hua and Jiajia are gone, I'll have no one to accompany me if you leave too. Now that the New Year celebrations were over, Miao Jing was regretful that she had not been able to present her watch as a gift, let alone that bracelet. Why was it so easy for other people to give their gifts away? They had already prepared their gifts but had never gotten the chance to give it away. Auntie Miao, thank you for your hospitality. I've been bothering you for way too long. My rented apartment should be fixed by now. I have to return eventually. And so, it was time for her to bid farewell. Chapter 1866, Mausoleum. She could not possibly continue staying in someone else's house. Even though the Zai family had not chased her out, Qiaonan still had some self-awareness. It would be humiliating for her to stay long enough for the Zai family to get frustrated with her and chase her away. Auntie Miao, I'm still living in Qingshui town. How about this? I can come to visit you whenever I have the chance. She probably would not have the chance to do so. Zai Sheng was only in Qingshui town to recuperate, after all. Recently, Zai Sheng had been spending more time walking around. When the doctor performed a checkup the previous day, he had said that Zai Sheng was recovering rather well. As a doctor, he would not stop Zai Sheng from returning to the military after another short while of recuperation. In other words, Zai Sheng would be leaving Qingshui town very soon. If Zai Sheng were to leave, would Zai Yaowai and Miaojing still stay behind? Qiaonan was leaving not only because it was the right thing to do, but because she felt that what she had told Zai Hua was true. After this farewell, she would probably never have the chance to meet the Zai family again. In actual fact, this meeting outside of her dream and being able to celebrate the new year with the Zai family had already been enough for Qiaonan. It was best to be content with what one had. Qiaonan was already extremely content that she had been able to have a reunion with the Zai family outside of her dream. This experience alone would be enough for her to relieve for the rest of her life. Miaojing had no idea what Qiaonan was thinking and finally smiled upon hearing that Qiaonan intended to return to visit her. All right, then. You must come to visit me. If you don't, I'll visit you instead. Miaojing might have been old, but she was no fool. Miaojing had taken note of Qiaonan's passivity. Miaojing was rather frustrated by a lady like Qiaonan who knew her limits all too well. Actually, there was no need for Qiaonan to act in this manner. Qiaonan could very well be more motivated. It was true that Zai Sheng was slightly old, but he was a good man and extremely suitable as a husband. Why was Qiaonan not moved at all in the face of such a good prospect? Qiaonan pursed her lips and remained silent for a while before answering, "All right. I won't come to visit you, then. You can come over to my place. Auntie Miao was just being courteous, right?" In the end, Xiao Su sent Qiaonan back to her rented apartment. Upon seeing the door that had been repaired, Qiaonan sighed in relief. "Xiao Su, this door has been changed, right? It looks sturdier than the previous one." Although Chen Jun had already been transferred out of Pingcheng and would probably never return to find her or even kick on her door, it was still better for her to have a sturdier door. She felt safer that way. "That's right." Xiao Su nodded. In actual fact, the very afternoon Qiaonan had been picked up, the Su family had found someone to remove the door and replace it with a sturdy metal door. Of course, it was done as per Xiao Su's request. This house was the house of his chief's future wife. If the chief's wife ever came back to stay and were to get into an accident because the door was not sturdy enough, the people in the army would definitely come looking for him. Most importantly, he would never be able to face the chief if the chief's wife were to get into an accident in his territory. Because of their son's vehement request, the Su family did not dare to delay the matter any further and immediately helped their son complete the task. When the landlady heard that her tenant was about to become the wife of her son's boss, she was stunned and did not return from her trance for a long while. She could not believe that something so dramatic had happened right before her eyes. She had not known that the short span of taking care of the chief would turn into a whole life's work. Thankfully, Xiao Su had always kept in mind Qiaonan's dutiful attitude and told his mom to keep it to herself that the chief had such plans since Qiaonan had not agreed to the matter yet. If they said anything and scared the chief's wife away, he would never be able to make a living for himself anymore. Their family would just have to pretend that they knew nothing about the matter and act just like they had before. "Will other tenants make a fuss that you've installed a metal door for only my house?" "No, we've already thought of an excuse. There won't be any trouble. Sister Qiao, take a look around and let me know if there's anything else that needs to be fixed. He had to ensure that Sister Qiao was well fed and treated well before she got married to the chief. Qiao Nan felt much more at ease now that she had returned to her own rented apartment. There's no need for that. This house is pretty good, and there aren't any other problems. Xiao Su, you should head back. Xiao Zhao won't be able to handle it alone if anything happens. I'm a grown-up. Do you think I won't be able to take care of myself? Besides, this was like putting the cart before the horse. Xiao Su did not have to care so much about her. If there was really something wrong, she would contact Xiao Su's mom directly. All right, then. I'll take my leave, Sister Qiao. See you again when we get the chance. Hopefully, when that time came, he would be able to address Sister Qiao as the chief's wife instead of Sister Qiao. Qiao Nan was in a trance now that she had returned to the rented apartment. But her expression darkened when she remembered that she had only moved to the Zai family's old villa because of Chen Jun. If it had not been for the fact that she had moved into the Zai family's old villa and had no time to think about Chen Jun, Qiao Nan would have wondered what was wrong with Chen Jun long ago that he had returned to ask for reconciliation. The most ridiculous thing was that the Chen family had not objected to it. Thinking about how Chen Jun had probably only appeared before her because of Wang Yang, Qiao Nan felt like she had been stabbed in her heart. In this life, Zhu Baoquo. Qiao Nan's face paled because of these three words. It had been almost half a year before she had finally thought of Zhu Baoquo. He had yet to appear in this lifetime. Did that mean? She gritted her teeth. Perhaps she should leave Qingshui town and go back to Pingcheng to take a look. Qiao Nan did not dare to ask around about Zhu Baoquo and the Zhu family. If her guess was right, Zhu Baoquo had not been resuscitated in time after being beaten up by a hooligan. It did not seem appropriate to talk about such a matter during the New Year period. Besides, the Zhu family wielded quite a lot of influence in Pingcheng. It might draw suspicion if she were to ask about the Zhu family. What should she do to understand Zhu Baoquo's situation then? Qiao Nan kept pondering this question while on her way back to Pingcheng. When she was on the bus, Qiao Nan had no idea what she was going to do. But the moment she alighted from the bus, she seemed to have gotten an answer. Qiao Nan headed straight for a mausoleum. In her previous lifetime, she had visited this place at least once a year because Zhu Baoquo's mother was buried here. Later on, when old Li had passed on, he had been buried here too. Old Li had said that Zhu Baoquo's mother had passed away early on in her life and he had sent a younger person off. When he was dead, he hoped to be able to spend more time with his daughter. Chapter 1867, Sensible. As such, the plots beside the grave of Zhu Baoquo's mother had all been reserved, one of which was for old Li up until the moment she awoke, the other side of the grave had still been empty. That had been reserved by Zhu Jinqi for himself. Walking ahead to the grave of Zhu Baoquo's mother, Qiao Nan started weeping. Both sides of the grave had been filled. Old Li was on one side, while the gravestone on the other side displayed Zhu Baoquo's young face. The space beside Zhu Baoquo was the space that had been left empty. Qiao Nan guessed that that was the space that Zhu Jinqi had left for himself. Thinking about how that big boy had eventually married Shi Qing and had a son and had eventually matured in her dream, Qiao Nan's tears flowed uncontrollably. Unfortunately, she had been the one to save Zhu Baoquo's young life in her dream. In reality, time had not turned back when she opened her eyes. The heavens had not given her another chance to save this young life. Qiao Nan bent down and placed a bouquet of flowers in front of each of the three graves. Although you may not have any memory or impression of me in this lifetime, I think that our fates are intertwined. I'm sorry that I've only come to visit you now. I hope that the three of you will be able to reunite with one another in another world. In reality, the one in greatest pain is the one who's been left behind. If you have the chance, please try to appear in his dreams more often. It's not easy for him either. Qiao Nan could not imagine how Zhu Jinqi, who had lost his only son after losing his beloved wife, felt. The Zhu family might be large, but there was no one who could let Zhu Chenqi feel the warmth of a family anymore. Wang Yang's family did not treat Zhu Chenqi sincerely. Otherwise, Wang Yang would not have led Zhu Baoquo astray just because of his greed for the Zhu family's assets. Neither would he have found people who accidentally killed Zhu Baoquo by mistake. Qiaonan wondered whether Zhu Chenqi would be able to accept the truth if he were to find out about it. However, Wang Yang, who had committed all those wrongdoings, had never gotten the punishment that he deserved. After killing Zhu Baoquo, he had even enjoyed everything that should have belonged to Zhu Baoquo. Qiaonan could not help but feel injustice for Zhu Baoquo. If not for Wang Yang, she would never have met a troublemaker like Chen Jun, who would go on to ruin her life. If she were to think about it in that way, it was true that she and Wang Yang were enemies in this life. After placing her offerings and fresh flowers in front of the graves and wiping their photos, Qiaonan finally left. "I'll definitely come back to visit you when I get the chance." To Qiaonan, Zhu Baoquo's grave was not any ordinary grave. It was the pain of losing a close friend. Qiaonan, who was a little depressed, left with a pair of red and swollen eyes, and her head hung low. Just as she left, she happened to brush shoulders with an old man in a black suit. Unlike Qiaonan, who continued walking forward with her head lowered, that old man stopped in his tracks and looked back at Qiaonan. Why is she here? Had the news not said that she had already left Pingcheng? Hurry up! A car stopped right beside Qiaonan in a hurry. The moment the passengers alighted from the car, they continually urged the other party to move faster and increase their speed. Hurry up! We have to confirm whether uncle came here. If. There's no if. What's the hurry? The woman who alighted from the car had a head full of curls and lips thick with red lipstick. Isn't he just an old man? Where can he possibly go? Why do you have to be so anxious? Dear, I'm not trying to say anything about you, but you're really too much of a scaredy cat. Uncle doesn't even have any other children. You're the only relative he has left on this earth. His assets won't run away. They're all yours. All of the Zhu family's assets belong to them alone. Whether they came or not, the result would be the same. She could not understand why her husband was in such a hurry. She had not even been able to change into some decent clothes before leaving the house. Why do you know? Wang Yang frowned and his lips were pursed tightly together. That old fogey, Zhu Chenqi, might seem to treat his nephew well and helped him with everything, but he knew that if Zhu Chenqi truly wanted to help his nephew, there was no way he would only have gotten this much. He could not just look at things on the surface. Zhu Chenqi could give him much more than what anyone else expected. He was the only one by his uncle's side. If his uncle did not treat him well, who would his uncle treat well? He did not have such ridiculous and self-absorbed thoughts. Thinking about how retarded Zhu Chenqi was for wanting to acknowledge a woman who had nothing to do with the Zhu family as his goddaughter, Wang Yang was infuriated. He was giving up a close nephew for a distant goddaughter. If he really acknowledged that woman as his goddaughter, there would be no place for Wang Yang in the Zhu family. Thankfully, he was clear of his uncle's temper and had gone a step ahead and gotten rid of that woman. Otherwise, even those little assets that slipped through his uncle's fingers would never be his. Remember that my uncle hasn't been in the best of health lately. The doctor told me that he can't say for sure when he'll pass away and that we have to be prepared for that to happen. Before he passes away, you'd better treat him well and coax him properly. As long as my uncle doesn't get any weird ideas, all of the Zhu family's assets will be mine. Then, I'll buy you whatever you want, and I'll be able to settle your brother's matters for you too. On the contrary, even if you make my uncle unhappy, leading to the Zhu family having nothing to do with me anymore, I still have the Wang family. As for you, don't forget why I married you in the first place. I have no need for useless things by my side. If that time comes, don't blame me for being heartless and throwing you back to where you came from. Wang Yang spoke harshly, scaring that woman who had been extremely relaxed just moments earlier. At this time, Qiaonan was already long gone. Otherwise, she would have realized that this woman resembled her. The similarity was in the appearance, not the behavior. Darling, don't get upset. Don't bother about my brother. No one can save him. Don't worry. I'll perform well in front of that old man. I'll definitely be able to make him happy. I promise you that I won't be a burden. Although the woman felt aggrieved, she dared not mention a thing about how she felt. She had married someone of higher social status by marrying Wang Yang. When she found out that her existence was useful to Wang Yang, she had been rather fearless and did not feel that she could not match up to Wang Yang. She was clear that Zhu Chenqi was the key to her remaining in the Wang family. It had not been easy for her to get married into such a good family. If anything happened to her own family, the Wang family could always help them out. She had no intention of ever going back to her days of suffering and hearing her family nag at her. Chapter 1868, Found. Remember what you just said. Wang Yang's tone improved slightly upon hearing the woman's words. Zhu Chenqi's health had been deteriorating recently, and Wang Yang could not wait for Zhu Chenqi to pass on. Once Zhu Chenqi was dead, he would successfully receive all of Zhu Chenqi's assets due to his relationship with Zhu Chenqi. On the other hand, if Zhu Chenqi was alive, there was still a possibility of someone else inheriting Zhu Chenqi's assets in the end. But as long as Zhu Chenqi was still alive, Wang Yang would turn all his attention to Zhu Chenqi and coax his ancestor well, in case Zhu Chenqi made a sudden change in his mind and found another goddaughter to inherit his assets. When Zhu Chenqi had done that at that time, Wang Yang had almost peed in his pants from fear. Wang Yang had all reasons to suspect that the person whom Zhu Chenqi acknowledged as his kin would be his greatest enemy who would snatch away everything he had been dreaming of all his life. The woman patted her clothes and put on her persona, suddenly becoming a lot more gentle and generous. Dear, let's go. I'm worried about my uncle. It's the new year, and here's the only place that he can come to. It's just as well. I've been thinking of Auntie as well. Shall we join Uncle and have a chat with Auntie and the rest? It was the new year, but that old man was not letting them rest easy. Where else could that old man go but visit the graves? He did not even have any friends whom he could visit. At the thought of how she had not been able to have some fun over the new year and instead had to follow her husband to some graveyard, Wang Yang's wife almost exploded in anger. Wang Yang was extremely pleased with how his wife had been able to change in an instant as though she was a face-changing performer. That's right. Let's go and bring him back. Before he takes his last breath, you'd better stay by his side in case he doesn't have anyone to take care of him when he feels unwell and needs someone to run his errands. Understood. That meant she could not let anyone come into contact with that old man up until the very moment he took his last breath. Otherwise, that old man might suddenly go crazy and leave a mess of a will behind. Not only would that complicate matters, but it would even hurt Wang Yang's and her interests. Wang Yang's last sentence alluded to the fact that she had better pay attention to lawyers in particular. There were some things that the couple did not need to say out loud to have a tacit understanding between the both of them. When they arrived at the gravestones of the Zhu family, Wang Yang and his wife indeed spotted Zhu Chenqi. Uncle, why didn't you call me along to visit Grandpa and Auntie? I wanted to visit them too. It's just that I've been too caught up with work. I should have taken the initiative to follow you here. Grandpa, Auntie, Baokuo, we've come to visit you. Wang Yang's wife placed the hefty fruit baskets one by one in front of the gravestones. They had already known that Zhu Chenqi would come to visit the three gravestones whenever he had any free time. As such, they had a constant supply of fruit baskets in the back of the car so that they would not need to make a stop to purchase offerings before heading to the cemetery. At such times, these fruit baskets could be put to good use. Wang Yang was not so foolish to only say that he wanted to visit the Zhu family but not express it through his actions. Uncle, did you buy these bouquets of flowers? Wang Yang's wife was taken aback by the 2 bouquets of flowers placed in front of each of the gravestones. What's the special occasion today? Or is there anything special about this year? Usually, there was only 1 bouquet for each person. This had never happened before. Wang Yang's wife was a woman and naturally paid more attention to the number of flowers and type of flowers as compared to Wang Yang. There's nothing special. I just bought it because I felt like buying it. Zhu Chenqi did not bother explaining that he had only bought 1 of those bouquets. The other had been given by someone else who had visited the 3 of them. It was just that Zhu Chenqi had already gotten used to no one but himself remembering his departed family members. In reality, Zhu Chenqi had been even more surprised than the Wang couple when he had first seen the offerings in front of the 3 gravestones. But Zhu Chenqi felt that there was no need to tell the Wang couple about this matter. Wang Yang was not a person who was all talk and no action. Once his wife placed the offerings before the gravestones, Wang Yang rolled up his sleeves, wanting to wipe the gravestones. But when he touched the headstones, he realized that they were rather clean. "Uncle, you've finished cleaning them already." They were already extremely fast and they had hurried after his uncle less than 5 minutes after his uncle had left his house. Everyone who knew the Zhu family knew that Zhu Chenqi's health was deteriorating by the day and might pass on any day now. But Zhu Chenqi's son had passed away in junior high school, and Wang Yang was the only relative he had around. Of course, Wang Yang was naturally the one to take care of Zhu Chenqi's matters. Seeing how Wang Yang had forsaken his business to take care of his uncle, Zhu Chenqi, there were many people in support of Wang Yang. Zhu Chenqi was an old revolutionary and had made great contributions to the nation. It was nothing much for Wang Yang to decrease his working hours to take care of an old revolutionary like Zhu Chenqi. The government had not disagreed with Wang Yang stopping his work temporarily to take care of Zhu Chenqi either. Wang Yang, who had applied for leave, was left with no work to do and was thus in an awkward position. Was his uncle not on the verge of passing away? Why was it that he was more agile than he had been in his youth? His uncle had not even left a single thing for him to do. How embarrassing! I don't know how much longer I'll be able to wipe their gravestones for them. Zhu Chenqi changed the topic and did not answer Wang Yang directly, but at the same time, it seemed as though he had acknowledged Wang Yang's words. Wang Yang did not think more about Zhu Chenqi's words. After all, everyone in the Zhu family, apart from Zhu Chenqi, was already gone. Of course, Wang Yang's surname was Wang. He had always had his sight set on Zhu Chenqi's assets, but he had never thought of himself as part of the Zhu family. Now that the Zhu family was gone, the only one who would wipe the gravestones was Zhu Chenqi. The Wang couple stood in front of the gravestones with Zhu Chenqi for a while. Wang Yang and his wife seemed to be freezing in the cold, while Zhu Chenqi seemed perfectly fine. Wang Yang asked, "Uncle, you've been standing here in the wind for a while. I'm sure Grandpa and the rest would feel bad for you if they knew about it. Why don't we come back again tomorrow? I can follow you here tomorrow too. Even if you want to come every day, I'll bring you here as well. But not today." He had been in a rush to get out today and had not worn a thick coat. If he were to stand out there in the open for any longer, he would definitely catch a cold. Seeing that the Wang couple's expression looked rather bad, he nodded in agreement. "All right. Let's go back. I won't be back tomorrow. I'll see when I feel like coming again." "Uncle, let me help you." Wang Yang breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, that old man had not insisted on it. If his uncle had insisted on staying, he would have to suck it up no matter how cold it was. Chapter 1869, Who are you? "Uncle, I'll help you too." Wang Yang's wife gave a stiff laugh. All she wanted to do right now was to return home to warm up her body. That evening before they went to bed, Wang Yang verified Zhu Chenqi's situation again. "After I left today, did anything happen? No one visited the old man, right?" Wang Yang's wife rubbed on her face cream while admiring herself in the mirror. She laughed before saying, "Dear, I think you're a coward. I wasn't around when the old man was younger, so I have no idea whether he used to have a strong temper. But now, I've seen the old man so often and he only has one relative left. There won't be any accidents with the Zhu family's assets. That old man won't be so stupid to give his assets to an outsider instead of his own relative. Are there such stupid people in this world? All he had left was his only nephew. It was unrealistic to leave his assets to a completely unrelated outsider instead of his own nephew. She knew that Wang Yang had only married her because she looked like a certain young lady. Of course, Wang Yang had not married her because he liked that lady. If that had been the case, she would never have taken it lying down. The true reason why Wang Yang had married her did not make her very happy either. She had heard that old fogey, Zhu Qinqi, thought that one of his neighbor's daughters had grown up well and had wanted to acknowledge her as his goddaughter. Wang Yang had been afraid that Zhu Qinqi would hand over all of his assets to that woman. What a joke! It was not as though that woman was truly the Zhu family's goddaughter. Yes, that woman had not gotten into any kind of relationship with Zhu Qinqi in the end. Wang Yang's wife thought it was unrealistic and impossible that Zhu Qinqi would go so far as to give all his assets to that woman. Nothing will go wrong if you're careful. Wang Yang yawned. He had worked for a full day and had run around for Zhu Qinqi's sake. He wondered if he would be this tired if his parents were gone. But he would get to reap whatever he sowed. As long as the Zhu family's assets were his, this much suffering was nothing at all. It's already so late. Stop rubbing so much cream on your face. Who are you showing it off to? I'm going to bed. Hurry and switch the light off. With that, Wang Yang switched off the bedside lamp on his side of the bed, covered himself with the blanket, and fell asleep immediately. His wife's face stiffened. What did he mean by whom she was putting on the cream for? Of course it was for her husband. Initially, she had wanted to make herself all beautiful and fragrant to have a hot and passionate night with her husband. But Wang Yang had fallen asleep the minute he hit the bed. She could not possibly wake Wang Yang up to do what she wanted in the way she wanted. Thinking about the difference between her and Wang Yang and about that mess back with her family, Wang Yang's wife could only sigh. She remained silent and could only think about how she would grab onto her husband, Wang Yang. When all of the Zhu family's assets became her husband's, not only would her husband rise in rank and position, but her status and position would rise as well. With this in mind, Wang Yang's wife had no resentment left in her heart. She could only hope that Zhu Qinqi would go quickly. Of course, Xiao Nan had no idea about this episode. After paying her respects to the Zhu family members, Xiao Nan was in a very heavy mood. Zhu Baoqiu was gone, so who would Shi Qing marry in this lifetime? Since Zhu Baoqiu was no longer around, that sensible and adorable kid that she knew of would naturally have no chance of being born. It was just a small difference that had resulted in such a vast change in her world. Dream and reality were too different. This difference only made it clear to Xiao Nan once again that they were indeed two separate worlds. After such an agitation, Xiao Nan no longer had the courage to find out about other matters, much less about how Shi Qing was living now, or whether she was even alive now. After spending the night in Pingcheng, Xiao Nan rushed back to Qingshui town on the first bus out. It was only when Xiao Nan arrived in Qingshui town did her rapidly pounding heart calm down a little. It was on such a tranquil morning that an unexpected guest showed up at the Zai family's old villa. "Who are you?" Upon hearing the knocks on the door, Sister Zhao opened the door to see someone dressed in a fashionable and foreign style. Sister Zhao had never seen this woman before, and neither did she recognize her. "You're the caretaker of this family, right?" Chu Chenxi took off her sunglasses. "You'd better open your eyes in the future. It's best you recognize the person who pays you your salary. I'm the mistress of this family. I'm back. Hurry and go get me some water. I'm thirsty." As she said that, Chu Chenxi walked right into the house with her bag. Sister Zhao widened her eyes and puffed up her chest, stopping Chu Chenxi. Look at you. You look rather wealthy, but you're nothing but a liar. If you really want to deceive others, you should at least try to ask around and understand our family's situation. Scammers nowadays are so bold. You even dare to scam our family? I'm not sure about anyone else, but I'm sure that our chief isn't married. But even if he isn't married, he already has someone in mind. Who are you to say that you pay my wages? That's ridiculous. Chu Chenxi had not gotten the chance to flare up at Sister Zhao for standing in her way before she got agitated by Sister Zhao's words that her master had already found a marriage partner. Did you say that Zai Sheng already has a marriage partner? That's impossible. He'll never get married to anyone else but me. And that was why she had absolute confidence that she would be able to return to Zai Sheng's side and become the Zai family's daughter-in-law once again. If Zai Sheng were to get married to another woman, what was the point of her existence to the Zai family? There would be no chance for her to get remarried to Zai Sheng. Who's that woman? Did my parents-in-law recommend her to my husband? That had to be the case. Those two old people, especially Miao Jing, had not liked her from the start. They had finally been able to see the day Zai Sheng divorced her. There was no way Miao Jing would give up this chance. She must have stuffed a countless number of girls to Zai Sheng's side. Miao Jing had done so for her own happiness and had not cared about Zai Sheng's happiness at all. Miao Jing had insisted on doing so even though Miao Jing knew that Zai Sheng would never marry anyone apart from her. That was atrocious. What angered her most was that Zai Sheng had agreed to it. If Zai Sheng had not given in, there would be a higher likelihood for the couple to reconcile. Would that not be a happy ending? Don't spout nonsense. Our chief found that woman himself. Who are you? This woman did not sound like a scammer. Chapter 1870, Slamming the Door. This woman seemed to know exactly what was going on in the Zai family. Otherwise, she would not have the guts to address them as her parents-in-law. Wait a minute. The chief had once been married. Could it be that this woman was the chief's ex-wife? Sister Zhao became a little hesitant. She only knew that the chief had once been married, but she did not know why the two of them had gotten divorced. From the surface, Chu Chenxi was dressed fashionably and beautifully. Chu Chenxi did at least look a little more refined than Jiaonan because of her makeup. Zai Sheng was a man too. All men liked beautiful women. Looking at Chu Chenxi's appearance, Sister Zhao was unsure if this woman was the one who had gotten divorced from the chief. Besides, it had been the chief who had asked for a divorce. But this woman was still talking about the Zai family as though they were her own family, addressing the old chief and his wife as her parents-in-law. This meant that this woman had not wanted to part from the chief. What was the chief's view toward this? I said. Forget it. There's no point in me telling you so much. You're just a caretaker drawing a salary. I won't put you on the spot. Go in and tell my parents-in-law that their daughter-in-law, Chu Chenxi, is here to see them. Then, you can open the door for me after that. That old woman, Miao Jing, was too evil and would never take a second look at her, but her father-in-law was rather nice and liked her very much. If they knew that she was here, no matter how unwilling Miao Jing was, her father-in-law would definitely be willing to see her, and he might even give her a second chance. She did not think that the woman Miao Jing had randomly introduced to Zai Sheng could be any better than herself. If it was really that easy, she would not have been the one getting married to Zai Sheng at that time. In front of someone who was lesser than her, Chu Chenxi felt that she had a good chance of winning. As such, she was fearless. Oh, all right. Hold on. Chu Chenxi's attitude let Sister Zhao breathe a sigh of relief. Sister Zhao closed the door slightly and rushed over to let Zai Yayawai and Madame Zai know about this situation. Old Chief, Madam, there's a woman outside. She said her name is Chu Chenxi, and she's come to find you guys. She even said that she's the chief's wife. At least, that was indeed how the woman had described her relationship with the Zai family. Zai Yaowai's and Miao Jing's faces changed in an instant, especially Miao Jing. Her face darkened completely and she slammed the table angrily. She has the cheek to come here and even dares to say, "We don't have such a person in our family. Ask her to scram." Thinking about what Chu Chenexai had done in the past, Miao Jing's eyes narrowed and her piercing gaze fell on Zai Yaowai. The look of blame was evident in her eyes. Zai Yaowai did not rebuke her and pursed his lips tightly together. "There's no such person in our family. Xiao Zhao, remember this person. If she turns up again in the future, you don't have to ask her who she is. Just ignore her and let her leave." Even when Zai Sheng had not yet found Jiao Nan, the Zai family had not been very willing to meet Chu Chenexai, much less now that Zai Sheng had expressed his interest in Jiao Nan. Chu Chenexai's appearance was not a good sign. Even now that the new year was over, their future daughter-in-law, Jiao Nan, had not been officially introduced. Thinking about how Zai Sheng had been dragging this on, Zai Yaowai and Miao Jing could not help but worry for the couple. After the new year, one of them was 40, while the other was 45. They were no longer young and were, in fact, rather old. But they were still dawdling. How many more years did they have to dawdle on like this? Moreover, before they could come to a decision, Chu Chenexai had decided to join in on the fun too. Zai Yaowai hoped that Chu Chenexai would leave as soon as possible. She had better not affect the relationship between Zai Sheng and Jiao Nan. "All right, old chief." Sister Zhao straightened her back. It was fortunate that she had been witty enough earlier and had not put in her efforts in vain. She knew that the person whom the chief liked was Sister Chiao and that both the old chief and Madame Zai were especially pleased with her. How could there be another mistress suddenly turning up out of the blue? It seemed like not a single person in the chief's family had thought well of that woman after she had gotten divorced from the chief. In that case, Sister Chiao's position was as steady as a mountain and would not waver. If she had to serve a mistress, she would much rather acknowledge Sister Chiao as her master's wife. After all, she was acquaintances with Sister Chiao. "So? I said that," when Sister Zhao emerged again, Chu Chenexai lifted her foot and was about to head in. It was clear through her posture that she thought of herself as the mistress of the house. Thankfully, Sister Zhao had been prepared and had grabbed hold of the handles of the main door. Because she held on firmly to the door, Chu Chenexai had not managed to step into the house and could only take a step back. "I'm sorry. The old chief and madam said that we don't have a person like you in our family. You want to acknowledge them as your family? I think you've found the wrong house and the wrong people. You're spouting nonsense. Are you sure that this is what the old chief said, and not something you made up?" Chu Chenexai's face flushed red with anger. She felt as though that caretaker had just humiliated her. "Did you take someone's money so that you'd hide the truth for them? I'm warning you not to play such a dirty trick. The one who'll suffer in the end will only be you. Let me give you some advice. You'd better tell the Zai family truthfully that I'm here. I might just let you off this time. If you still continue to hide the fact that I'm here from the Zai family, don't even dream of me helping you beg for mercy when the Zai family finds out about this." Chu Chenexai felt threatened, and needless to say, this threat had come from that Sister Zhao's mouth. In Chu Chenexai's opinion, someone must have bribed Sister Zhao. That was why Sister Zhao had not told the Zai family about her arrival and had even lied that the Zai family claimed that she did not exist. If she was angered by these words and left, that woman would naturally be able to marry Zai Sheng more easily, snatching away her husband and the position of the chief's wife that was hers to begin with. She had never imagined that there would be such an impressive character in a remote town like Qingshui town. Now that Chu Chenexai was throwing a tantrum, Sister Zhao was even more upset. "You're such a strange person. I guess you must have watched too many television dramas that your brain is filled with drama. I'm not lying and I've done nothing of that sort. The old chief and madam are both here, and they both said that they don't have someone like you in their family. The old chief even instructed me to remember your face so that I won't open the door for you in the future. Forget it. There's no point in me telling you all these. You can believe what you want. With that, Sister Zhao slammed the door shut and locked it securely. It was hard speaking to people who did not have a grip on reality. Chu Chenexai, who had almost been hit by the door, was no longer flushed red in anger. Her face was now green. In all her years, she had never once seen someone slam the door so heartlessly in her face. And it had been a caretaker who had just done that.